texting the player while he's in class, Pete Golding, and then texting him a picture of $1 million contract. Okay? And it looks like Sweeney's got the receipts for what Ole Miss and Pete Golding were doing. And that's the case. This is a huge test for the NCAA. Do you punish people who violate the rules this egregiously, or do you throw your hands up and say we can't do anything, in which case college presidents are going to have to figure out something else? Because you have to have some rules. You can't just have a complete Wild West environment.
Yep. And now, full disclosure, I think as far as, for those of you who don't know, as far as Shep and I are concerned, if Ole Miss gets a SMU-style death penalty, that would not be harsh enough as far as we're concerned from a fan standpoint. Because
no, I mean, we both want people to look back at the ruins of their program 1,000 years from now and go, man, how harsh.
Exactly. But so with that said, there are, as you said, there are rules,
and they got caught.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it's a high profile program. It's an SEC program. I'm sure that there's going to be pressure on the NCAA to minimize the penalty from the SEC as a conference, right? I'm sure there is, because it is an up and coming program.
The conference will be penalized. It'll be the institution. Right?
No.
I'm sure the conference will try to get them to minimize it, or Sink may be like, you know what, make an example out of them and not LSU.
Actually, yeah.
I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't have a lot of trust in the ethics of the people who would be making these decisions.
Exactly.
But I just thought I'd throw that out there because it's such an obvious with receipts delivered. And Fresno State is claiming they have receipts on Golding too about a wide receiver. It's not just a linebacker for really. You got multiple instances of this, which I think could lend itself to maybe a little bit more severe penalty. It's not going to be like the test. Yeah, that's
unfortunately
part.
Yeah.
But I think it may be not as heavy as you or I would want, but heavier than maybe other people expect.
Well, let's see. You know, while we're on the topic, and it is time to swivel the spotlight away. I don't want to completely move it to the NFL because we're going to come back to that in a bit. But I do have a segue from that because it's somewhat related. And technically, this is still college football. I want to talk about Bill Belichick, speaking of cheating. So he's not the first ballot Hall of Famer, and there was this big uproar about not being there, and there was a lot of talk that it might have to do with all the scandals, the Spygate, the Deflategate, all that good stuff. So again, you know, we were talking about Ole Miss and our deep-rooted, what's a nice way of saying hatred? Dislike for the program, right? But so I will say I suffer from that when it comes to Bill Belichick and the Patriots and what they did to the Bills for a couple of decades. But so I was happy. That he didn't get in. And I've always felt that they were way too lenient for that type of stuff, everything that went on. So your thoughts on Bill Belichick, on the on him not getting into the Hall, all that transpired in the last week.
For me, I have to separate my feelings about Bill Belichick, the person, versus Bill Belichick, the coach.
Mm-hmm.
And I have always thought that run that they went on, especially the early part, were because of his insane attention to detail and defensive acumen. That all of his peers, even though they get salty about some of the, you know, the camera work stuff, the Deflategate, all those things, all universally recognized. Because it's not like he just won Super Bowls as a head coach. He won 2 as a defensive coordinator for Bill Parcells.
Yep.
Okay. Including, or rather, a memorable one for the Bills fans, and by slowing down the K gun, right?
Yep.
And he is, by any definition, the best coach in NFL history.
The best X's and O's guy. Like,
yes,
what he could do in game.
Coach in NFL history.
Yeah.
And it's not the Hall of Nice, it's the Hall of Fame for who is the best and who added the most greatness and lore to NFL history. And I think that the writers who voted against his inclusion let their egos get in the way of what they're supposed to do. That does not mean I approve of Bill Belichick, the person, or what I think are unethical things that he did as a coach and looking for an advantage. And those things I don't approve of, but I can't. If there's any coach who's going to get in and deserve a first ballot Hall of Fame voting, it's Bill Belichick.
So here's my take, and it's going to be a little conflicting, right? While I was happy he didn't get in from a personal standpoint because of my dislike for what he did during his career to my team. But I also was happy because I felt that he did not get the punishment that he actually deserved. I agree with you. I think in-game coaching, what he's done and what he's accomplished, he did it to the K-Gun offense in the 1990 Super Bowl as the defensive coordinator. You're absolutely right. Nobody was able to slow them down. They were coming off what was it, the 50-3 AFC Championship victory, right?
Oh God, I have to look it up.
And it wasn't just that. Like, nobody was able to slow them down until he figured out a way. Once could have been a fluke, but then he runs into that Rams offense, the greatest show on turf, right?
Yep.
And he did it to them again, but in a vastly different way. It wasn't that. Yeah, it wasn't like he was like, oh, I remember a high-flying offense and how I stopped them. Let's do this. No, it was a different offense. He took different tactics to slow them down. The lazy approach is always, I've heard people, he did it to the Bills, he did it to the Rams. Yeah. You watch the game, what he had to contend with on the offensive side was different. How he slowed things down. And then don't forget what he did to Peyton Manning and the Colts in the early 2000s.
I have different opinions.
Again, criminal. Against the rules.
That's the officiating.
But the NFL allowed it.
They still allowed it, and everybody else have adjusted and done the same thing.
And I think
had the ball through it.
Yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. And that's what he always did. And part of the blame, yes, does go on the NFL, because if he's a competitor, he wants to win, he's going to do everything. He's going to push every envelope as far as he can until the rules say you can't do it. They actually, sorry, not the rules, but the enforcers of the rules come in and say you can't do it. Right? So the blame, this kind of goes back to my take on the steroid era in Major League Baseball. Right? If it's just going to be a wink, wink, nod, nod, and allow it, that's why the Chiefs have been holding for the last 4 years, 5 years, right? If you're going to keep allowing it, what's his name? Taylor, the right tackle, right? Holds every false starts every time.
7 yards off the line of scrimmage.
Yes.
Which I know is an exaggeration, but Lord.
Yes, false starts every time. On average, Taylor probably has 10 false starts and at least 4, 5, 8 holdings every single game. Why? Because they're letting you.
Because they let him.
There's no disincentive for him to do anything differently.
It's my argument about tactical fouling in the Premier League, which may not mean anything to you. But when someone deliberately fouls to stop a counterattack, they're supposed to get a yellow card. And my team, Arsenal, is master of this too. Manchester City kind of sets the standard, but Arsenal, everybody does it. But if they enforce the rules the way they're supposed to, you would see a lot less of that, and you'd see a lot more goals because people be able to break, right? But they don't. So teams, understandably, from an intellectual standpoint, foul to break up these counterattacks. It's the same thing on a whole host of things. and teams have to adjust to it, and that's where the leagues have to get their minds right and be willing to do things.
I mean, I'm getting to the point where I really, really, I don't enjoy sports with the uneven application of the rules. If you don't want to enforce it, change the rule.
Yeah,
You've got
that goes beyond any individual sport we're talking about.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, if you want to enforce a rule, put it on the books. You don't want to enforce it, take it off the books. But I just want there to be, as a competitor, as an athlete,
you want to know what the rules are and how they're going to be applied.
Yep. Otherwise, you end up in these situations. You end up in these Bill Belichick situations that while there's going to be some honor some of the time, you're going to end up with somebody who says, "Okay, cool. I'm gonna push my toe as close to being over the line as I can until somebody tells me."
I mean,
that it's over.
Injury thing with Lane Kiffin. The NCAA had to come up with specific rules about you've got to show some level of honor and integrity about injuries.
Yep. And the thing is, you can't wait until your head is underwater before making a decision like that, right? So anyway, going all the way back with Belichick, I felt that he cheated. You're saying he cheated. You're not going to vacate a win. You're not going to vacate a championship. You did nothing. You suspend Tom Brady. You tell Tom Brady he can rest for 2 games. And, what was it? They lost 2 draft picks.
Yeah.
That's not even a slap on the wrist, right? Either say no, it really wasn't cheating. So anyway, that whole thing, I think what it comes down to is my feelings. If I were to wrap this up, my feelings on Bill Belichick, and is he going to stay out? No, he's going to get in. He's going to get in
because the heat the voters are taking from not letting him in.
Yeah, they denied him being a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he's still going to get in. But I was okay with it, but it's just, I mean, the whole thing is just a farce as far as I'm concerned, because the rules should have been enforced at the time. Maybe the Hall of Fame needs to say if there is, if there has been proven cheating, like the White Sox, the scandal, right? If you're caught cheating, then you're just blocked from the Hall of Fame.
Yep.
But as long as it's not there, it's not on the books, then treat the man or judge the man on what he did on the field. I say that as much as I hate what Bill Belichick did as a coach during his career against my team, when it comes to that, that's what I say. Judge the person on the field. And you're absolutely right. On the field, he is the greatest X's and O's coach the professional game has seen. He was able to reinvent his own team, right? They went from a defensive juggernaut to, once he had Randy Moss and the high-flying wide receivers, he all of a sudden turned Tom Brady into a Peyton Manning. He remolded his team multiple times based upon the talent that he had and his talent evaluation, I think. Just off the charts. And I don't mean from a drafting perspective. I know there's a long list of draft busts, but of course there's a long list of draft wins, late draft wins also, right? Draft busts at the top, draft wins at the bottom. But I think his ability to identify what he has and how that can be beneficial to his roster was unparalleled. To put the players, because what's a coach's main responsibility? put the players in the best
Players in
position to win.
succeed. Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if there's been, maybe just solely from an offensive standpoint, Andy Reid and what he's done with
Bill
them.
Walsh too. We're a little young to have truly appreciated Bill Walsh.
Fair.
But what he did with the West Coast offense and the timing and the opening up of holes in defenses based off of that timing and the precision of the West Coast offense was pretty amazing.
That's fair. I think when it comes to Bill Walsh, you're right. We're a little young, and our audience might be as well. One of the things that gets missed, we talk about Bill Walsh and the West Coast, the advent of the West Coast offense. I mean, he introduced it, and it's been very, very beneficial to a lot of coaches across the years from that tree. But his ability to put the players, how do I want to say this? So Bill Belichick was really, really good at identifying, maybe in mini camps, identifying the talent and putting them in those positions schematically, right? Strategically. But Bill Walsh was really good tactically in the moment, making the right play that he knows that his players, because I know this is going to sound sacrilegious, but if you look at just from a talent standpoint, I don't know if Joe Montana is a top 5 quarterback of all time.
Man, I don't know. It's hard to compare across eras because he played in a totally different era than some other folks.
No, but what I'm saying is compare Joe Montana from game 1 to game 16 and then compare him in the playoffs, right? There's a huge difference. Just the stats, and then go back and watch film also. That's what I mean by Bill Walsh's ability to, in the moment, put the player, make the right call that is your player's strength, that they can deliver. Now, Joe Montana's, there's a reason he was called Joe Cool, right? There's his ability to stay cool in the moment and actually execute and deliver unparalleled. But the stats prove out, man. He in the in the playoffs, he's just as good as any quarterback in the history of the game. But in the regular season, where does he stack up? Not just from a volume standpoint, but the quality of those stats. It's not. It doesn't match up to the stature that he has with his stats in the playoffs. But anyway, we're getting off topic here. But yeah, Belichick will get in next year. It's not that big a deal. All right, we've got 4 minutes. I want to switch from here because next hour I think we do need to focus on the pro circuit. But right now, I wanted to give this. Oh, can you hear the squeaking of the sneakers? The pop of the tennis ball? Yes. I want to talk about, and look, I've been an Alcatraz fan since he was 18 years old. But man, oh man, what has he accomplished? He broke a record that had stood throughout the look, we've talked about in the world of tennis how much greatness we've been privileged to witness, right? Maybe even on the periphery, Jimmy Connors and McEnroe era, Bjorn Borg era, but really the Stefan Edberg, the Agassiz, the Courier, the Sampras, to the big three in the last 15, 18, 20 years. And now Alcaraz and Sinner, I don't want to discount him, but the talent that we've witnessed in the world of tennis is just phenomenal. But yet all through that, this record had stood tall since 1936.
Yep.
For the young, long time, and a lot of greatness coming through during that time. But here we go. Alcaraz is now the youngest by a few days, but he did break the record, the youngest to complete a career Grand Slam at 22 and 363 days. I think he's a couple of days away from his birthday. It was I believe a Frenchman, no, American, Don Budge, who had the record back from 1938. So here we go, big win. And after dropping the first set to Djokovic on a court where Djokovic previously he's dominated the world of tennis along with Federer and Nadal for the last 20 years, but Australian is the championships that he's dominated like no other. He was 10-0 at the Australian finals before today.
Yeah.
And then wins that first set easily, 6-2. And I was thinking, here we go again. But nope. Alcaraz had other thoughts. Came back in the second set, 6-2, won the third one, 6-3. Djokovic tried his hardest. I mean, put up a good fight in that fourth one, but Alcaraz wins at 7-5, completes the Grand Slam, wins the Australian, and here we go. Again, we talked about this a few months back where fans get so short-sighted, and it's always, at the end of the McEnroe Connors era, it was all this talk about this is it, this is the end. There's not going to be anyone to replace them. And then we had the next set of greats, and then it was the same doom and gloom, and we had the next set of greats. And I think Alcaraz proves. I don't know if he had much to prove between him and Sinner, what they've been doing the last couple of years, but I think here we go. This is the beginning of another 10, 12 years of greatness that we're going to witness, definitely from Alcaraz, probably from Sinner, and a few other up-and-comers in the world of tennis on the men's side. So congratulations to Carlos Alcaraz for becoming the youngest Grand Slam, career Grand Slam.
He's 22. I mean, it's astonishing.
It is. Just the ability to win so much so early, and used to be tennis careers would start to fade in the late 20s, but those days are long gone. I think the sports medicine, the training, the science, everything having to do the diet, all of it. I think it's prolonging athletic careers. So being this good at 22, I mean, the sky's the limit, right?
Yeah, I mean, and Djokovic, to his credit, said that after the match.
Okay, maybe some humility. Yeah, I didn't watch the post game stuff, but yeah, I mean,
I read some of the quotes afterwards. He was very complimentary.
All right, that's impressive. Everybody can find some humility, I guess, at some point. By the way, this can't be right. I think this is a small list. I'm looking at a blurb here. It was a list of 5 players to complete the career Grand Slam. I know it's more than that, but maybe I'm wrong. All right, well, we are a little overdue for the last break. Let's take that and then come back, and we're going to swivel the spotlight brightly over to the professional football world. Lots and lots that happened last Sunday, and lots that's to come next Sunday. We're going to talk more about the Super Bowl next Sunday, as we're going to be leading into it with the spotlight. Yeah. But we will touch on it, but we're going to start with the championship games.
Off the field stuff, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of off the field stuff. All right, here we go. We'll be back in about 4 minutes from this break, and we're going to talk all things NFL. You're listening to the Sports Spotlight right here on Radio Azad.
You are listening to Radio Azad, where your voice matters. Entertain, inform, inspire.